Sir, you can start now. No problem.
Okay,
Okay,
so
start.
we begin now. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to see the whole Indore group present here. And I want to extend a very warm welcome to Mr. Santi Borgni, who is with us today this morning. And he has very kindly accepted our request to be with us and talk to us. Santi is going to talk on the theme everyday life and emptiness. To some of us who is not aware about Santi, I'll just briefly introduce Santi to you. Mr. Santi Bogni's connection with Krishnamurti's teachings started over 35 years ago with a book. Since then, Santi had felt deeply appealed to read, explore, share, and as far as possible, live those words. In 2001, Santi started Casa della Pace, a house in nature in central Italy, as a Krishnamurti-inspired retreat center. Since that beginning, Santi has hosted 5 or 6 retreats every year based on study, dialogue, and silence. Retreats continue even today with closer friends as well as with newcomers. Besides this activity, many other things happen, including the birth of 3 children that are now young adults, getting involved in supporting Achyut Patwardhani School at Rajghat, Varanasi, and working in the retreat center, receiving people from different corners of the world. I may add that Santi is a friend of Rajghat and has been of great help to us, especially the rural school, in organizing funds and sponsoring children. And Santi has been a regular visitor to Rajghat, and whenever he comes, we organize a retreat, and we also get to taste the genuine Italian food. With these words, I welcome Santi once again. Santi, you can take as long as you want, perhaps an hour. And after that, we'll have brief observations by Dr. Gajanan Rao, the trustee of the foundation, and Mr. Tankha, who has been in Brockwood Park and the trustee of the Brockwood Park School, Krishnamurti Foundation Trust. And then we can take question and answers, if that is okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
So it's up to you now. Yeah, please begin.
Thank you, Dubai. I'm glad to meet you all and to meet all the friends here. And so I'm going now to read a short excerpt from a Krishnamurti talk. In fact, is a talk he gave in Rome in 1966. And of course, but I want to repeat it, I'm not assuming to explain what Krishnamurti was teaching. It for sure is much better to go directly to him. So it's not my intention to explain what he was saying, but I think it has a value to ponder over together, to make the teachings alive. At the end, the teachings are words, and to become alive, they need all of us. Without us, the teachings are just words. So we have to live them, we have to ponder over them, we have to make them something that is living today. Otherwise, they just wither away. So this is, I think, the importance of being together and thinking together and exploring issues that Krishnamurti raised. And those issues are the issues of our own today life, are not theoretical, intellectual issues, but are what we live and what we must explore to live a good, full life. So I will read this short piece, and then I will comment for some time, and then we will be open to have a dialogue together. We all had the experience of tremendous loneliness, where books, religion, everything is gone, and we are tremendously lonely, empty. Most of us cannot face that emptiness, that loneliness, and we run away from it. Dependence is one of the things we run to, depend on, because we can't stand being alone with ourselves. We must have the radio or books or talking, incessant chatter about this and that, about art and culture. We may have a very good job, work furiously, write books, but inwardly there is this tremendous vacuum. We want to feel that, and dependence is one of the ways. We use dependence, amusement, church, work, religions, drink, women, a dozen things to fill it up, cover it up. If we see that it is absolutely futile to try to cover it up, that it is impossible to escape from it, whether through marriage, through drink, through God, through churches, through literature, through painting, through music, through children, then we are faced with a fact. It is not a question of how to be free from the fact. That's not a fact. That's only a reaction to a fact. Can I face this emptiness, this sense of isolation, the sense of not belonging to anything? It is something I've never faced before. I don't even know what it means, because I have so carefully, so cleverly cultivated escapes from it. Though I know it is a fact, I am unwilling to face it. I know nothing can fill it, no words, no books, no literature, no art, nothing. Why don't I face the fact and see what happens? In the conclusion of this same talk, he was saying, because we can't live peacefully, we join peaceful organizations and function completely in the field of time. The thing which is timeless is God, or any name you like to give to it. The name doesn't matter. I repeat, the thing which is timeless is God. So we are going to explore these, what might be our understanding about what we just read. I don't know if it is evident for all of us. What Krishnamurti is pointing out here, that emptiness is behind all activities of our life. In our daily life, we are so much involved. I am so much involved in what I'm doing, in my children's problem, in my work, in my worries, in my plans for the future, in relationship with my partner, in the relations with my friends, and so on. All this is filling up life, amusement, and because and we become dependent on all that. One become dependent on relationships. We want to possess the other, to be secure that the other is with us. And one become dependent on success of our children. And one is dependent on security, on how things run. And one is dependent on the approval of others, on being approved. We talked of this in a retreat a few weeks ago, and someone was saying, well, but we depend on each other, and we depend on many things, and this is unavoidable. And that's right. We depend on who is producing food. We depend on the doctor. We depend on the teacher to educate our children and so on. And we depend, I would say, also on the air we breathe. We depend on the water we drink. We depend on the food we eat. So it is quite important to see that we depend, we are conditioned, in fact, on a concrete material level, we are conditioned. We depend on others. And I would say there is nothing wrong with that. The fact that we depend on each other is just normal, it's just, and it might be an healthy fact where we are responsible for each other. But when we depend on each other psychologically, that's a completely different matter. When I depend on my partner, I look to be fulfilled by her. I expect her to fulfill my wishes, to fill up my emptiness. And when this doesn't work, I get upset. I try ways to reach my aims in getting her attention. And in different ways, our activities is created to fill this emptiness, to never meet this emptiness. What happens when we're doing nothing? We are doing nothing, not meditating or not trying to reach anything, but just doing nothing. We have nothing to do. What happens when we are with ourselves without any work, without any aim? How do we feel? Do we have an idea of emptiness? Because we have been reading Krishnamurti and so on. We have any idea of emptiness, of silence? He has been talking of emptiness as something immense, as something that is the timeless. Have we made up an idea of that? So what is the relation between this everyday activity, this filling up all our time, filling up the brain with activities, and emptiness? Is a relation of, oh, now I am so busy, but I want to find the time to have an empty brain. And so I am sitting down, I will meditate, I will try to reach that state of mind that is empty, that is silent, and so on. I'm quite sure that for most of us, this is the movement. To be filled up with thoughts, with worries, with activities, with wishes, and trying to reach a state of mind that is empty, where there is a sense of the timeless, and so on. In this way, if this is a fact, obviously, we are creating an illusion. We have an idea of what emptiness is, and we run after it. Emptiness in this way, or God, or anything, any word you want to use, becomes another object to fill up our emptiness. Emptiness becomes an object to fill up our emptiness. So, is there anything that is not a division between what we live daily and emptiness? Here in the text we read, it is suggested that we cannot escape from emptiness. And I think that for most of human beings, this is absolutely not a fact. One thing to be able to escape from emptiness. One does every possible thing to escape from that. Does it work? Is it a fact? I mean, can anyone, through activity, through work, through relationship, through whatever, escape from emptiness? How emptiness expresses itself in our everyday life? I would say that every activity, everything we meet in everyday life is limited. We may have success in our work, but this is limited. Then we return home and we have our family problems, our relationships problem, our inner problem. The moment our work is over, we are back to our old me. And the success in work is not lasting forever. The relation with our children is of the same kind. We see that there are many things we don't understand of our children. We see at the end that their life is not our own life, that we cannot get fulfilled through them, and that it is not fair to try to be fulfilled through them. So we're again back to our own old self. There are no activities, there is nothing in this life that is not limited. We may be excited, we may be joyful for a moment, but everything seems to have a shade. So what is that shade that follows everything? I would call it dissatisfaction. So we are satisfied, and then we fall or we enter into a condition of dissatisfaction, or pain, or frustration, or fear. To have, in some way, implies the fear to lose. To be happy with a person implies a possession and expectation. And we escape from dissatisfaction, we escape from fear, from frustration. But so we should ask ourselves, what is emptiness? Is just this shade that is following us, annoying us with this sensation of frustration, dissatisfaction, and so on? It's just something that we are not clever enough to cover up. And if we would be clever enough, that would not exist. Our culture is giving many examples with actors that are always happy, with successful people on the TV that are always happy, and so on. And we don't see the other side of the coin, of the unhappiness of the same people, because we see them only on the screen. And I think more and more our culture is producing a very powerful, very strong identification with this appear to be happy, appear to be cheerful, to be joyful, to be successful. Appearance seems to be happiness in itself, but obviously is not. I think in the Western world, I don't know in India, perhaps it's not really the same. In the Western world, this is really very strong, and through social media is becoming even stronger because they allow people to show only what they want to show. So to show only the face of happiness and so on, and never the face of dissatisfaction, of frustration, of fear. So what is this? What is pain? What is dissatisfaction? And what is emptiness? Is emptiness a state of mind, or it is something different? It is not a state of mind. I would say, to give my view on this, that emptiness is not a state of mind. Emptiness is being empty of the me, being empty of the I. Where there is no I, that is emptiness, that is empty. All the activities where the me is the center, where the me becomes strong, central, is full of thinking, full of worries, full of memories, full of wishes, wanting, and so on. And there is something in our lives that is empty of me. In fact, if we look at dissatisfaction, we can see that it's not something we want. It's not something we look for. On the contrary, we would like not to meet it, but we do. It's not something, dissatisfaction, we build up or we feel we possess it, and so on. In other words, dissatisfaction, in dissatisfaction, there is no me. In dissatisfaction, I am not. I can look, obviously, at dissatisfaction as the opposite of a satisfaction. So I am satisfied getting something, having a new car, and so on. And when the car is broken, then I am dissatisfied. But I'm not talking of these couple of opposites, satisfaction, dissatisfaction. I'm saying dissatisfaction is always there, behind everything we do. So, and in that, we cannot do anything. It is just a fact. It is there. As Krishnamurti was pointing out here, we do every possible thing to escape from emptiness, but emptiness is there. There is no way, he was saying, it is impossible to escape from it. So there is something, there is a language, I would say, there are some hints in our life where there is no me. And strangely, this absence of me seems to be met as a disturbance, as something that is painful, as something that we don't want. we don't want that emptiness, though perhaps reading K, we can think we want to experience that state of mind. But when we actually meet that, we escape from it. I'm saying that dissatisfaction is emptiness, is the voice of emptiness, is the language of emptiness. Wherever the me is not, that is the voice of emptiness. When we look at trees, when we look at the river, when we look at nature, in nature there is no me. But the moment we say, it is beautiful, so we transform nature in an object that we use. We use for our fun, we use for our pleasure, and we use, of course, for exploiting it, and we destroy nature. I'm suggesting we should ask ourselves, what is the me aware in our everyday life the me is not? That means what is in our daily life that happens within us, in our inside, that is not produced by the will. The will being the core of the me, being the engine, what seems to drive us toward a goal, toward an aim, to control. So if we start to see, if we begin to see that where there is no me, there emptiness is expressing itself, with dissatisfaction or with a sudden joy. If we see this, then I think there is a change. Because we see that what is, whatever it is, what is, in every moment is always expressing emptiness. In every moment, if we observe, if we pay attention, we see the efforts we do to be something, to appear something, to be approved, to be loved, to possess. And in the same time, we can see how this very effort to be approved, to be something, has its own shade. The shade of insecurity, of fear, of dissatisfaction, of frustration. So can we see that what is cannot be in another way? What is this? The division of what is into what is pleasurable and what is disturbing us is what the brain apparently automatically does. Apparently, there is a strong power in dividing what is disturbing us from what is providing us some pleasure. It's a very old game. It's something that it is part of us. We are not producing it. We have been born with that, apparently at least. Our consciousness of all of us human beings works in that way, dividing what is providing pleasure from what is disturbing us. If one is rude to us, if one is not behaving in the way we expect, we withdraw. We seem incapable of just observing the other when he's not saying what we would like to listen. So I don't want to say, can we look at what is like that? The fact is not this. The fact is what is like this. What is not divided. We try to divide it, but we are not succeeding, obviously, because there is no possibility to divide what is into what is pleasure and what is disturbing. What is everything. What is. What is. That's all. So can we see if what I'm saying makes sense and there is any truth in it? Can we see that this is a fact, that what is cannot be separated? In what is, in this moment, there can be a sense of communication, a sense of listening, and if this is the case, there is no separation. But as soon as one tries to listen, as soon as will comes in, as soon as the me comes into being, then separation begins. I want to listen, but I am distracted. I am bored. So we don't look at boredom, at distraction as part of what is. We look at that as a disturbance, as something that should not be. So what is undivided. This is the fact. What is undivided. And what we call disturbance the dark side of what is, to say so, is not produced by the me. Is the outcome of the me, because the moment I want to be something, then the dark side comes in. But it's not produced by the me. The pleasure is produced by the me. Wanting to be approved is produced by the me. In this, we can see there is an intelligence. We can see that this satisfaction is true, is intelligent. There is not less intelligence in dissatisfaction than in seeing the beauty of the mountains or of the river. So if for us, this is a fact and not a theory, then the change I was mentioning before is that a condition of natural listening begins, is open. We listen to everything because everything is speaking, is intelligent. Dissatisfaction, all disturbance, the person that is rude, that is hurting, is what is, and is the expression of that emptiness, of that is not me. In this listening to what is in this way, in this observing what is with attention, with a natural care, a natural sense that comes out of the understanding that the division of what is into something that is pleasurable and something that is a disturbance is an illusion. It's totally futile. There is no way to escape from the dark side of what is. So I start listening. That listening in itself has no me. Has no me because it's not coming from wanting to achieve a certain state of mind, of emptiness, and so on, but is because one sees that this is what is. There is no way that it is not like that. What is what is. And in what is, there is emptiness. And that emptiness expresses itself in an intelligent way. There is intelligence. That is not my intelligence, it is intelligence. So, in meeting what is in this way, in listening to what is in this way, one realizes a deep sensitiveness toward everything, because what is then become a question, not an assumption. One is never assuming to know you, but our relation becomes a question, a field to be explored, because what is the unknown. What is, that is our relation, that is this dialogue, is the unknown. And we can only explore it, we can only inquire into it, try as far as we can to go deep into that, to meet what is with all of us completely, knowing that what is, that is the now, that is the present, is the mystery, is unknowable. So there is a listening is not in order to define, is not in order to know in the sense of giving definition, of memorizing anything. Listening is to be open, to be open with the heart and with the mind, with all of ourselves, to the unknown. So, in our daily life, emptiness is. Emptiness is empty of the me. So if we see this, we see that what is empty in our daily life, empty of the me, that is whatever happens, whatever we feel and we would not like to feel it and so on. This empty of the me is the major part of our lives. We cannot say that we control everything. This is just an illusion. We cannot say that we want to achieve this, to achieve that. It's just a little fragment of what we live. When we have children, they grow up and they have their own life. We cannot possess them, drive them. We can guide them to a certain extent. We can help them to a certain extent, but deeply, we do not possess them. So this absence of the me is the major part of our daily life, is the major part of what is going on in ourselves. If we see this, we can see that this me, this activity of thinking based on wanting, wishes, achieving, and so on, is just a very little part of what we are. The deepest part of us has no me all the time. That emptiness that cannot be escaped is there. So we see that there is a great care coming out of this. When I meet you as a mystery, as the unknown, when I meet you, not from our past experiences, from my memories and so on, when I meet you, as you are in fact, as our relationship is in fact, I meet really the unknown, and I meet what is. When human beings would meet nature in this way, not trying to know, to define and so on, but just meeting nature, looking at it wholly, feeling the beauty of it, feeling the life of it, feeling the changes in nature, then one would see that despite all sciences, all definitions, nature remains something that is beyond all definitions. And what is beyond definitions is beyond time. Definition is time. I don't know if you see this. When we define, we are in time. To define myself as father means the projection of myself into my past and into my future, into a role. That role is time. To define everything means to create a fragment and take it out of the wholeness, and to give a reality to that fragment as if it would exist out of that wholeness. That is the fact. So I am something. It means I create a me that is something that is separated from the wholeness. So to define is to give birth to time. To define is thinking. Thinking needs definition. Otherwise, we cannot think, we cannot speak. Each word is a definition, and each word creates its own limits, its own division from the whole. This division is useful, but it is useful in a relative field. Meeting what is, listening, observing what is, exploring what is not through definition. Cannot be. What is the whole, is the wholeness, is the timeless. So if we think this, if we see that what is actually has no me, has no definition, what is the timeless, then we see that what is sacred. Whatever is sacred, actually. Whatever we meet inside and outside is sacred. And if this is a fact, then a natural, spontaneous sense of attention and care comes into being. If this is not seen, then we exploit everything. We make everything and everybody into an object. You become an object for me to be approved. My partner become an object for me to experience security and pleasure. But to see that what is sacred, is timeless, is saying that there are no objects, but only expression of this emptiness that is speaking through each moment of this life. I think that it might be enough for the moment. So if you want, we can have a dialogue and to continue together. I will be happy to listen to you.
Thank you, Santi. Thanks a lot for putting it up so clearly, the state of emptiness. And even if an ambitious man who is full of desires, because that is a state, that is what is for him. If he can see that entirely, then perhaps your definition of emptiness, which is a state of empty without me, without I, that is possible. And I think you have put it up very well and very well explained. Thanks a lot, Santi. Thank you. May I request Dr. Gajanan Rao and Harsh Tankha to make brief observations, 5 to 7 minutes each, so that we can take up questions. So we'll start with Dr. Gajanan Rao. Yes, sir.
Thanks for the opportunity to listen to Shanti ji. Can I be heard? Am I heard?
Yes, yes.
It's clear.
It is clear.
Yeah. As you said, it's a very tough subject, difficult subject that he has chosen. And at times I couldn't catch some words because the language difficulty we have, listening to a certain way. But even then, he was deeply into meditation as he was talking, and the subjects really demanded it. And it meant wiping away from your mind the whole of consciousness in which the content has been accumulated through generations, through thousands of years, of which we are a part, and I am it, I am my consciousness. And this emptying is not an effort. And trying to be silent or still cannot come through motivated effort, definitely not. He was making it plain. And it's not even aspiring, because even aspiring has an element ambition. It's not hope. So it was very, very difficult subject. I was enjoying with him, suffering with him. And it's so nice that you were deeply meditative as you were talking. Otherwise, this subject could not have gone through, even for our sake. Well, I appreciate all that, but I am not in a state to comment anything really, because we all think we could be happier without the burden of this consciousness and its content we accumulated. And we accumulate more and more. I don't know how it can ever end, in the sense, even without any effort, the accumulation seems to be happening. You hear something, see something, have an experience, that one's recorded, as if we have nothing to do with it, as if we really can't stop that recording. And whatever is recorded is already part of consciousness. And a snowdrop, which is pure, pristine, one drop can show the whole sun. When you look at that, that gives you a sense of possibility in a human mind being empty and capturing the unknown, which may be too fast. I don't know what it is, we can't even imagine. And not just because you're silent, you cannot at once have got there also. It's not possible. Is there then, Shantiji, in your silence, such silence where, as you said, there isn't a shadow of me, my thought, my idea, any moment of thinking, because any moment is thinking, moment of thinking. And you are bereft of time, therefore, bereft of thought. Let us say, for argument's sake, that there is a silence of that kind. I think this is speculative. That silence, do you think, can capture the unknown, or I vaguely, I mean, it's not my own idea, but somewhere I caught Krishnaji saying, there came an insight in such silence. That insight is what is essential to know the unknown. Have you had any such experience? I don't know. I'm just.
Yeah.
Is there an explosion of a kind which can open it all? What do you say, sir?
Well, there are experiences of this kind, as you were saying, but they don't last. This is the fact. There are experiences that are showing something. I would say there are experiences that can show that the infinite intelligence of this universe is here. But they don't last. They can last 1 month or 1 week. So we are back, I am back, again and again, to my common everyday life. And the realization that this very everyday life, this very what is now, whatever it is that intelligence, is that emptiness, is wiping away all attempt to create an idea of emptiness. Creating an idea of emptiness is an hindrance. Emptiness, it is here, now, unavoidably. I repeat again what Krishnamurti was saying. It is impossible to escape from it. Sorry, go on.
Little louder, yeah.
A little louder. Sorry, perhaps it's my microphone. I had to keep it.
Okay.
So, can you hear me better?
Yeah, I can.
I'm sorry.
No, please.
No, I was just saying that the very creation of any idea of emptiness, of any idea of silence, pursuing silence as a name, is the denial of silence, obviously. Silence is in what is now. Emptiness is in what is now. In every moment, there are no possible idea about it. Every idea of emptiness is not emptiness. Emptiness is now. So, emptiness is that intelligence that is expressing itself through whatever is, if we listen deeply to what is. Trying to create any particular condition is an escape. I don't know, here we have a silent retreat, and silent retreat means just to do nothing. Not trying to pay attention to this or that or to reach anything, but to do nothing, to be with yourself, alone, doing nothing, and to see what happens. And the natural condition of human beings, that is silence, that is emptiness, comes into being naturally when one is just dropping all activities, all attempts to reach anything. That is the natural condition of human being, to live in emptiness. The other way is an effort. To preserve the me, to live into the activity of the me is the effort. The emptiness is effortless, is natural.
Thank you, Santi.
Yeah, thank you. I think I haven't anything else to say, except I want to know from Santi and others too here, like Tankha or Harshad and some others who have been. Krishnaji has this to say: it is possible not to record. It's possible not to record. I don't know whatever you meant, but this is so automatic, we think, the process of recording. Once it's recorded, as I said just now, it's in, become already another content, another of the consciousness. Some insult, let's say, somebody spoke ill of you, or he was addressing you harshly. He would say not to record that. Maybe I felt there could be a certain physical record, but with awareness, we can change it into a certain record which is just physical, without touching the emotion. That's what I took it as that. In which case, we're not adding content to your consciousness, itself is reducing the volume of your consciousness in a way. It's a draining process of the whole consciousness, which a huge basket, a stream that is swollen to its maximum is running. And you may be a person all the time chattering and not be able to even listen to something intently. So all that qualities may be positively be with you in case at least you don't fill more and more. It may be my suggestion, or because he said that, don't record. And maybe you can relate the instance later, relate the event later, but not with a charged emotion. He said that. I don't like it. Things like that. So such a recording doesn't disturb the brain. And therefore, if you're gentle about all this, conscious about all this, with full awareness, you think there's a possibility of coming into silence more easily with such a mind. I don't know. Anybody wants to comment on it, or Santi himself?
And it would be good if someone else would speak also.
Actually, say something.
Sorry?
Sorry, you want me to speak?
Yes.
Well, if you don't mind, Dr. Gajanan,
Yeah.
I would, you brought up a very interesting topic about recording and what Krishnaji is saying.
Yeah.
Is it possible to not record might mean.
Yeah.
But if you don't mind, I will go back to what Mr. Santi's has been talking about, because I think you went very deeply into this question, and thank you for that, because very often we just skim over in our discussions or dialogues, skim on the surface of things. But you did go very deeply into this question of loneliness and emptiness. And I find myself wanting to agree with you when you say that this emptiness is the absence of the me. That when the me is not, that is, as you said, the natural condition of a human being. I think I understand what you mean by saying it's a natural condition, but I would also say the natural condition is to be thinking and escaping from that emptiness and that loneliness. And so I think this is the difficulty. This is the difficulty in facing. That's what Krishnamurti was talking about, in facing the loneliness. That actually we do have this strong tendency to escape. We don't want to linger some people find themselves extremely lonely and they find themselves lingering, consumed by loneliness. And they find it difficult to function because they're consumed by loneliness. But I'm not even sure whether those people are actually facing loneliness. So I would suggest that if we are looking at what is in our lives, in our daily lives, our experience, it is that we want to escape from this loneliness, that we don't want this state of emptiness. If we should encounter it, which we do sometimes when things are difficult or the loss of somebody or doubts creep up in our mind about things, then we find ourselves in touch with this. But our reaction mostly is to move away from this, so what we can do is to look at how we move away from this, because that we can observe, that we can see happening in ourselves, in our relationships with others. That we move towards a relationship, we want support of somebody else, or we look towards religion or God, or somewhere we look to outside to find some kind of support in our lives. Or entertainment, we run away from into entertainment or drink or whatever as a means of escaping this loneliness. So this escape is the thing that is ever present, that is something that we can. And as we begin to understand and see what this escape is, we may begin to see what we are escaping from, what it is that we are escaping from. But the immediate experience, I would suggest, is one of escape from this loneliness. And there are a couple of other problems here I find because even a person who's saying they're lonely, the moment we even look at, we feel that we're lonely and say, I am lonely. The moment we identify with loneliness, we've already moved away from it. We have already created the sense of self where we are saying, I am lonely, or as Krishnamurti puts it, I think in this very talk, that we have turned loneliness into an object, into something we're observing. And I am the observer who is observing this loneliness in myself. And then I'm saying, I'm lonely, and desperately seeking some way of avoiding this loneliness, or filling this emptiness that I see. And it isn't just the person who feels lonely, it's also, we all collude in it. We all, somebody whom we love and who we are close to comes up and says to us, I'm lonely, I'm really, I don't know. And our immediate tendency there is to say, no, you're not alone. I'm with you. And so we encourage this dependence on the other. And even, it feels good to be somehow encouraging this dependence in this loneliness. So all this so I would suggest that what we experience as loneliness is actually the escape from loneliness. By the time that I'm saying I'm lonely, what I'm talking about really is all that I'm doing, my desire to escape, wanting to be with somebody, wanting to be fulfilled, whatever. That is what I'm actually observing, and not the emptiness. So that's one thing I would want to say. The other thing I want to say is, what do we mean by doing nothing? or acting from emptiness. Does having a completely empty mind, does it mean that no action is possible? That no thought arises? Perhaps I've been sitting, my mind's empty now. Somebody offers me food and I need to eat food. So I think an important question is, can this emptiness, this, which I think is what Santiji is touching upon, can this, the sense of emptiness and lack of the self coexist or somehow be observing the daily action of our life? Not that we have this sense of emptiness and then we lose it and we get absorbed and slip into all the daily things that we have to do. And then one day we feel, oh, we feel lonely, and then maybe I try and find this sense of emptiness again. So I think this doing nothing could make one think no, I think a better way to say it is that, can this be observing daily action, including thinking? Because thinking is necessary. I've got to do my accounts. It doesn't mean that I have to stop thinking about my accounts, but can somehow that sense of not me, what would that mean? I think that is the challenge. Talking about not me is extremely difficult question. I think it will take a lot of time for us to go into it. But I'm just saying, asking whether it can coexist with daily action. I think that's probably sufficient for me to say at the moment.
Thank you, Harshad. Santi, you want to respond, or should we go to the next question now?
Well, just I will try to say something very, very quickly. And one thing that Harsh was saying, well, there are many topics, and it would be good to sit together and to have a week together or a few days together to talk over. Maybe not just a few minutes, but anyway, what to say, why we, before it was said, why we register, why we memorize, and because why we give so much importance to memories? Is it because we don't see the immensity of what is, the challenge of what is now? I think this is just a hint, I feel. And also, Harsh was saying that is one could say that it is natural to escape from emptiness, to get involved in this and that and so on. And apparently it is so. But the question is, here in my understanding, what is true? Because escaping from emptiness cannot be but a fragment of the whole. We escape from the emptiness, but still we cannot. The wholeness doesn't allow to escape from the emptiness. So when we take a fragment as absolute, that is just not true. So we have to look for what is true, and the truth is seeing the whole, not taking the fragment. So it's not natural to escape from emptiness because it's not true, simply. What is true is natural.
Thank you, Santi.
Finish.
Dr. Harshad Parekh, please.
Yes. Are you able to hear my voice?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
The problems which we go through, human beings, it is because our brain is developed more than animals, and we have invented language, and we have become very good with words, and it has become a habit to understand things which doesn't require words, but like non-verbal state, in that we can really see things very, very clearly, but we try to understand everything through the words, language, and it seems to me that we make simple thing more complicated. So we are caught into words describing, but there is another dimension which exists in human beings, which has not been awakened, but in some people, that new dimension other than thinking uh, has awakened, and then through that dimension, one can see clearly how these problems are arising. And that dimension, Krishnamurti calls it awareness or intelligence. And with that intelligence, words, ideas, thinking, our daily life, they all can function without problems. But without that awareness, we get caught into thinking, and thinking creates more thinking. And so the real understanding is non-verbal understanding. And for that, one needs a great sense of curiosity, attention, to look at oneself, how thoughts are arising. And this has a beginning can be made. At least I feel that a beginning was made in my life after what I read Krishnamurti saying that all our problems are arising from thinking, and from thinking comes this sense of I or me, and then it creates duality and many, many problems. So when there is a tremendous curiosity, attention, a kind of freedom to look within, maybe there is a state where there is no thinking, but the senses are functioning properly, and it may not stay long initially. But as we become more and more curious to look inside, not with a question, because something is going on all the time. So when we are not having dialogue, when we are not talking with anybody, is it possible to look? And it seems to me that the thinking is just happening by itself. We are not thinking, but it has become like a habit, some recording of a song which has happened in my brain, and then that song comes at some time without even my awareness, but then I become aware of it, and then it may stop. So we are not thinking, thinking is happening to us, but there is another dimension which Krishnaji calls awareness or intelligence, which can see very clearly what thinking is doing. And then there is that insight, yeah, it makes everything wonderful to just look. And then such dimension with this dimension, one can look at a tree or a bird or a cloud or a human being, and without thinking. It is really possible. this thing. So our problem is that we have developed our brain with too much thinking, language, and have become very, very fluent with thinking and speaking, and then trying to understand what Krishnaji says through thinking. And that is the block, I think. One has to be really silent and aware and look inward without trying to understand. Okay, I finish.
Thank you, Harshad. Vijay ji, would you like to say something?
Yeah, can you hear me now? Yeah. Thank you very much, Santi, for this such meditative session, and so many questions have come up, and that's true. There are many things coming up, emerging in this, and so one can only pick up, focus on a few questions. I was wondering this natural, when we say natural condition, at one level, one can understand that the larger holds the smaller, and so everything is held in the unknown, the totality. So that in that sense, it seems reasonable, but we actually in our daily life, we do move between natural condition and cultural condition, nature to culture. So that is from the totality, from the whole, we slide into fragmentation, and where thinking takes over. And as Harshad was saying, thinking happens to us, and then there is awareness. Would you say that is awareness a natural condition, that which can hold everything, which can hold the fragmentation, which can hold activity, which can hold thinking about things? Is that a given? Is that capacity is given, that the same brain that has the capacity to think also has the capacity? What is our reality? Where is awareness a constant, or is it that there's a movement from awareness to lack of awareness to thinking and getting absorbed, or absorption, or thinking fragmentation, and then becoming again aware? Whether that is the actual field where all this happens between nature and culture, or natural condition to our culture condition, the conditioned condition, So that's one aspect where one can look at, maybe what is whether it's or did you, Santi, mean that natural condition is what is always there, only it is lost sight of? But that's then one traditional approach, that its divinity is there, but it is lost and we have to regain it. So so that's I can see that one doesn't give oneself, that's what I've observed, that one doesn't give oneself enough opportunity to be really being available, or you call it do nothing, not giving oneself an opportunity to be in nature, for instance, and not to be occupied, and that's what the purpose of a retreat is, for instance. I mean, when I'm here in this beautiful environment of Jalna, that natural condition seems very natural. I mean, I totally connect to it, but I'm not sure whether, when the whole scenario changes or one finds oneself in a very different situation, different place, different, whether that quality that will sustain itself in the same intensity. So, but one has seen that one doesn't give oneself enough opportunity to be in that kind of natural environment, not to be occupied, at least not make effort, or just see the phenomenon of, you call it emptiness, you call it loneliness. We always
Vijay,
indulge in words and expressions, and looking at never explore the even phenomenon. Stay with anything, stay with any expression. What phenomenon? What is it really referring to? What is it? What is the state? I am using this word, but I'm using it mechanically. I say loneliness, others say, missing something. So actually looking at it, you not overemphasize words and all the history that words carry, then there's a certain intimacy, and then there's a meeting of a different kind, and then some, of course, then anything happen. So then that a certain intimacy with phenomenon is always it's very different from using words and talking about a phenomenon. So that's one. And just quickly, I'll just another question got triggered for me, that when you said for children, because I often regularly Zoom with the family Zoom, and everybody is in a different place, so we have very good conversations there. And what was triggered for me was that when we say, well, children have their life, or everybody has his life, and it just occurred to me, is it really so? What makes me connect, have ease of connecting to a 5-year-old and 80-year-old, or people of very different backgrounds, and inwardly feel very great ease. So is that really, I mean, if we say, well, they have different life, yes, outwardly, yes, in details, yes. But is it that, what does it mean to say, well, they have their life, we have our life, but these are details. But is it really so that everybody having his own life, or it's what is it that the common ground, or where we connect? So that's for me, this question got triggered, and I would take it up with my children, for instance. Because this would be interesting to explore. Is this, are we finding ourselves in the same waters together, that waters we call life, or is there such a thing as your life and my life and their life? So that's so these are two things that I've expressed. So if you would like to take, if you have a take on that. First one, especially. The second one is, of course, for me to explore further.
Well, I don't know, can I say a couple of words on this? On the first thing you were saying, Vijay, I think, sorry, awareness is there all the time. There is no way of not being aware. We're not aware of being aware, to say so. We don't realize that that awareness is here all the time, and there is no way to escape from it. isn't there that when I was talking of dissatisfaction is awareness, is the sense that what I'm doing is futile, is not fulfilling. That sense of not fulfilling is the awareness, but we are not going to the depth of it. We are not really entering to that. And doing nothing just allows awareness to come to the surface. When you are in nature as you are and doing nothing, the contact with nature is immediate, at least it comes naturally. It's not something that one should search for. And about what you were saying so beautifully about relationship with our children, I would say that obviously we condition each other, and even now we are conditioning each other, and this is to be in, to belong to the same ground, to belong to the same humanity, and to explore this, that is the relationship, that is this reciprocal conditionment, is the, I don't know, what is sacred in a way. The fact is that when I want to condition you, then I don't see how we are conditioning each other. I don't see how we are interrelated. That is another thing. There is no me there. We are interrelated. But the moment the father wants to condition the children, that is another matter. Finish.
Thank you, Santi. I think we have few more questions. Mr. Dinesh Waghmare, sir, will you go ahead? Dinesh,
Yes, sir. Mr. Shanti, can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Sir, my question is very simple. I am caught up in loneliness, that great energy. I'm caught up in that. It is a time-bound phenomena and it has got cause. Now, simply by remaining what is, what you said, or emptiness, what you said, this will wipe out that loneliness? What are
Yes.
your actual experience? What is your actual experience?
I would say that to be with what is means to be with the others, to be in relation. To be with what is means to meet nature and to actually be with it. Be with the other is, in that what is, the experience of being together, of listening, of being open to the other. Loneliness is not a physical state, is the psychological state of not being in contact with what is, that is also the other. So this being interrelated that we were talking before is unavoidable. We are interrelated, we are together, Durga ji, in this world. There is no other way.
It is time phenomena, so it will take time also.
Sorry, say again?
It is a time phenomena because it has got a cause. With some cause in time, it has come up. So it will take time also to go up. If I don't do anything, I just remain with so-called emptiness and what is. It will take time also. It may take years.
No, it is now. It's not in time. It is not a matter of time. It's a matter of seeing what is now. So time has nothing to do with this, because all the time, in every instant of our life, that emptiness is there and is not of time.
Thank you, Santi. Durga ji, you have a question, please go ahead. Unmute yourself, unmute.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good morning, Shanti ji.
Good morning.
Yeah, it's really like a very meditative kind of a session. We had right from the beginning, and yeah, like I think it is a really a deep topic, as our senior members, Harshji and Harshad Mehta and Harshad Parekh and Mr. Gajanan Raoji, all of them are saying, these are very core and really deep issues if we consider the teaching and all. And like there's Harshad Tankha is saying, along with the loneliness, I think, Kay also discusses about aloneness. Loneliness and aloneness, they go together. And I think we, by sharing and by exploring all these fundamental core issues of the teaching, I think we are able to communicate well, and we are able to share each other's perspectives, and there is more for us to explore into, maybe those regions which we have not explored earlier. I think maybe that's the reason why Krishnji used to encourage so much of these dialogues and discussions and all that. Listening to all these things, my mind also, like, Vijay ji had said, a lot of questions got triggered in his mind. I think this is the purpose of, because the teaching is so vast and, so deep in its depth and all dimensions. And I think when it's very important that, we discuss these things and share these things and bring out each other's perspectives. Yeah, I just would like to say, sir, recently I was reading Mr. Markley's book, Knocking at the Open Door. There, I have read Krishnaji asking, I think Mr. Markley only directly, are you flowering, sir? Are you flowering from inside? So time and again, he is asking, asked Mr. Markley this question that really made me wonder, flowering, these are so many beautiful sides and dimensions to the teaching, and we really wonder. And I think to some other person, he was saying, are you anchored in the otherness? So these kind of questions, like, so far I have read the books I have read, Krishnaji asking directly to the persons, I hadn't come across. So that also made me wonder, these questions. So, I think that's what the teaching, that depth and magnitude of the teaching, you understand something and something else also turns up and makes you reflect on that. So these are the two questions, that really struck me, flowering and, anchored in the otherness. And like, Mr. Harshad Tankha has said, me also existing together.
You ask the question because we are beyond time.
Okay, sir. That's all I heard. I would like to communicate. That's all. Thank you. Thank you for the session.
Thank you. Harish ji, the last comment. Please be brief. Go ahead.
Okay, namaskar. I think Vijay Chhabra ji captured what probably I'm saying it very tentatively, hesitatingly, what Santi meant by not making any effort and no action to be available to oneself. And I feel to be with myself, whether I am joyful or miserable, whether I am bored or I am utterly fulfilled. But to be with myself, I don't need any K-book or anything. I don't need any dialogue or discussion with anyone. I don't need any mobile phone, Android phone. I don't need any book or newspaper or anything. Of course, my body needs food. So I really don't know whether food is provided, cooked food to everyone. Then it will be almost total inaction. Otherwise, maybe he may be giving you apartment, you cook your own food. But it is very simple, what Vijay Chhabra says, to remain unoccupied. And we all know whether it is mobile phone or TV or with our children. But yes, I agree with Harsh Tankha when he said that I have to attend to certain chores. But of course, that is the reality of life from which there is no escape. Otherwise, no accessories, no nothing to understand except to be with myself. If I'm bored, I will remain with boredom. If there is a space gap between two thoughts, I will watch that. If that gap is broken by a thought, I will be with the thought. Any question of silence, thoughtlessness is a mere concept or word about which Santi beautifully said that every word is a definition in itself. Okay. Second thing, please forgive me for pointing out, as a language teacher, Santi talked about two kinds of emptiness, one negative, one positive. Negative, emptiness, which we always try to fill up with, whether it is our children's successes or our own pursuit of ambition or whatever it is. That emptiness, which Waghmare or somebody said, loneliness, that is aching. Christianity often use the adjective aching, the painful loneliness. Another word that he used in urgency of change, inward poverty. So that emptiness is there, which is that Krishna also has said, that is the ground of everything. That emptiness, which is beyond time, it is from there that every thought arises, and with the departure of each thought, one returns to that emptiness. There's no doubt about it. Second thing, I'm a little hesitant about that dissatisfaction, but it is only a matter of word. Because in commentaries on living Christianity has distinguished between the two things, discontentment and dissatisfaction. And he has said that a religious person is always contented but not satisfied. He said, how can, when the world is burning, when you are full of problems, conflicts, relationship, how can you be satisfied? Just like he said that a confident man is a dead human being in the book Letters to the Schools, the same way a satisfied person is a dead human being. So that state of dissatisfaction means I am alive and kicking. So I was, Santi, I really liked your in-depth analysis.
I think we have problem with your audio, Harish ji. We are not able to.
Agent. Yeah. Oh, so what Santi talked about was like a good catalyst, inspiring us, helping us to go into the depth of the teachings. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Hareshwar ji.
Thank you. Thank you. We have come to the end of the talk now. I want to thank Santi once again for accepting our offer and being with us here today. Santi, we have a number of questions still to be answered, so maybe you'll have to come once again. we'll find out when you are free, and then maybe sometimes in September, October, whenever you are free, we'll invite you to have one more session with us, and that will be nice.
Sure. I will be pleased to be with you again, and I hope we will meet in person.
Yes, sure.
Somewhere.
Yeah. Thank you, Santi. Thanks once again. With these words, we'll close it now. Then, sir, we can close now.
Yeah. So we have to declare next Sunday's program. That's a must.
Yeah, next
what
week.
What program on the next Sunday?
Yeah, next week, Sunday, 11 o'clock, we'll have who's our speaker? Dr. Nirja Raghavan will be talking to us.
Yeah, Nirja Raghavan.
Nirja Raghavan, she was principal of Rajghat Besant School and also professor in Azim Premji University. Right now, she runs her own NGO. So she would be talking about how to, basically she's engaged in educating teachers. One of the famous quotes of Krishna that important to educate the educator. So she'll be talking to us on that. With these words, thank you once again, Santi. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Namaskar. Thank you, everyone.
Have a good day.
Yeah, yeah. You too have a good day, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Please close it now.